Okay, my friends, this just doesn't get any better than this. If you've seen this thumbnail, this is it. This is a head of what I consider to be an alien. Now, I just did the video. I was just done with it. I'm just about getting ready to package it up and get it up on YouTube. And something struck me, and I said, holy smokes, I missed this the whole time. I think this guy might have been a murder victim. I'm telling you, I think he might have been a murder victim. Now you start thinking about what you know about mud fossils and about the colors of blood and tissue and all that stuff. We've been looking at this pretty close. If you've been following, you understand. Now, what do we see here? Same guy, same head, different look. Now, and again, I don't know if I've told you this. I don't have any access to this head whatsoever. It's gone. It's sold. The guy doesn't want to be involved, I don't think. And I have no idea where it is. I think this guy might have been a murder victim. Now, that it just struck me at the last moment. Now, you're going to have to watch the whole thing because I'm going to drag you through it because I got some other stuff to show you too, other heads and things. Now, it's all stuff that's been denied by mainstream. They don't want to, no, don't bring this to us. That's all your pareidolia. That just is, that's from volcanism. That's all magma. That's how they explain everything. I'm not kidding you. It's hilarious. It's magma, it's erosion, sedimentation. Yes, we know all about it. Yep. See you later. Have a nice day. Okay, my outstanding friends. Shocker du jour supreme. We are going to be looking at this head. Now, I have no information on this other than what I will show you. It's gone. There's no way to contact the people that have it, so forget about that. Don't email me asking anything about it. Other than what I show you today, that's it. Done. Case is closed. Now, what is this material? Well, it's an alien's head. But what is it made out of now? Nucleophilic substitution means wherever this biology was, it will turn into the stuff that surrounds it. It will invade the membranes, including skin. Every tissue has a membrane. It will invade the membrane and then stabilize the contents of the membrane. And then the outside will stay preserved primarily. Now, sometimes they'll smash up and fall to pieces. Now, I have something in a microscope that's the same stuff as this. It's the same kind of stone. And how did it form? Well, I'll explain it to you the best I can. And I'll tell you what this thing here is too, in addition to the head. Now, the head I showed the other day, the Naga, I do have contact with the person that has that, Kim. And if somebody wants to be interested in that, I know she wants to sell it. And, you know, she wants quite a bit of money for the thing because it's pretty spectacular. However, I stay out of that. I don't want anything to do with it other than if somebody really did want to spend a bunch of money. One of the preconditions I would like to ask is that we be able to extract some DNA from, or whatever, do some deep research on it. Otherwise, it's just a curiosity. It means all this stuff is just, nobody's looked at it because it's just curiosities. Nobody can explain anything. So they just don't look at it. Well, how are you going to explain it until you look at it? That's my idea. I guess I'm just lost, but that's where I go with everything. I said, get me to the beginning of this thing. Now, and I'm trying to get to the beginning of life. I'm serious. I'm not kidding you. And I can't. And I don't think anybody ever will. Because wherever it came from, it's here. As far as I can determine. Now, I don't go down all this crazy conspiracy nonsense where everything's painted and it's all cartoons and we don't live in some kind of plasma world or something. No. You know, I'm in touch with reality here, but what is reality? What the hell is reality? We haven't examined it. We haven't been allowed to examine it. As soon as you start talking about it, pew, down you go, and you don't get back up normally. Very rare. And the people that did the real deep research on it never did get back up. And I'm getting to the point where I'm probably going to go down and never be up either. It's just the way it works. If you want to change things, boy, it takes a long time. I guess that's all I have to say about that. Let's do our examination of whatever it is that we're looking at. All right, as you can see, even Caesar is freaked out about this thing. That is crazy as it gets. Now, what I do want to explain is this here is a giant fingertip from a giant human being. I believe it's a fingertip. And right there in the middle is where the apical tuft is on a fingertip. And all around here was where the fingernail-ish bed was. It's extremely eroded. But I know this very, very well what it is. Now, this is the same material as that almost. I believe it's olivine. And you see how it's flaking off here? And it's in layers of body tissue. Now, you see in here? That is saturated with blood. That is about as red blood as you can get. Now, just hold on a second. Let me show you something. Now this, I'm going to get you on the microscope with this and we're going to see it. But inside a fingertip, they're just 100% blood. They're just almost saturated with blood. Now we're going to be looking at this guy and look at his neck and everything. I mean, there's some really good detail in that head. And again, I have no more, there's nothing I can do other than to show you this. And I have another shot of it. And it looks like it was in some kind of a spacesuit or something. Let's take a look. Okay, for you, everybody pretty much, well, okay, if you haven't seen Kim's Naga head, I did a video on it a day or so ago, and you can tell very easily the areas that are moisture prone. There's going to be abrupt transitions between the lips and the eyes, where the eyes are and so forth, and they take on a whole different look to them as they petrify in this mud fossil manner. Now, let's take a look at this other head and see if we can make any other determinations, because it's an olivine head, and that's all I have. I have no information other than it was from a guy named Heath, and I contacted him and I said, "Where did you get this thing?" And he just said, I don't have it anymore, I sold it. That's all I got from him. And I don't think he wants to be involved. If he does, and he sees this, he can comment. But the head he had, and I got so many of these things. I get people sending me stuff, so much stuff, it's incredible. This was Heath. Now, that's all I can say. And this is, hold on a second. All right, let's take a quick look at this. What can we determine just by looking at it? All this scaly looking stuff? Is that normal? Yes, it is. Because this right here is basically the same material. And this is a giant fingertip. And the beauty of this is we're going to have some DNA tests coming in. I got a half a dozen of them coming in. A Russian associate of mine is paying for this, and we're going to get about a half a dozen DNA tests done. Now, when I say DNA testing, the only testing they're going to test for is human DNA. I don't think they would get any human DNA out of that, although I don't know. But we don't have that to test anyway. Although this is a fingertip, and that is absolutely saturated with blood. You should be able to see that red blood there. I don't know if you can or not. I just don't know if you can see it in the video or not, but it is red blood. Now, and this is a fingertip, and that right there is the center of the apical tuft, and this just sits right under this is the bed under the fingernail, and it would have been out here. This would have been quite a bit bigger, and now it is completely transitioned. There's still some skin left here. This is some skinish stuff. You could peel this off, and there's going to be a ton of DNA in there. I mean, there's going to be a ton of of blood in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show the extraction when we get the kits in. And I'm going to drill in here with a masonry drill. Of course, it's going to be cleaned and sterilized and all that stuff. I'm going to wear gloves and all that business, clean it all up good, drill down inside, evacuate that stuff, vacuum it all out, drill down a little deeper, take that, because I'm going into absolute total red blood here. I mean, I'm going to be right into the blood. Into the blood. And where is the blood? Well, the blood is in the fingertips. They're saturated. This is just a saturation of blood. And I can see from the back here, this is the black side. See this little bump here? That's actually where the vein was. And this side here is the vein. This side here is where the artery is. All the red blood. And then it transfers over and comes back to vein. And if you know how to look at this right, and you have mudfossil eyes, which I do, you can see that's the center of where the bone was. You got to get it just in the right light. I had it just so perfect the other day. I could see the bone just flawlessly inside. But again, you got to get it in the right light. I can see the outside edge of it there in that light. And you can see the different texture here versus this. This is the skin, this is the bone. You got to get your eyes right. You got to understand what you're looking at. Two different textures. And not only that, two different, if you look at it in a microscope, this side and this side is different because this side is the vein side. And that chunk right there is vein blood. That little ball right there is where the vein comes out the side. They have veins coming out and arteries coming out. That's one of the veins, and I believe this is going to be where the other one is. And they harden up solid. That's why that bump is sticking off here. These turn red blood. That just runs right off. So that preps you for what we're going to be looking at and how we're going to be able to tell them what we're seeing here. But I can guarantee you that right there, my friends, is a fingertip. Now, I assume that's from a human giant. Because I got them all over the place. I got them coming out of my ears. They're everywhere. People are finding them everywhere now. It's not hard to do. They're just everywhere. So anyway, let's move forward. See, Caesar, he's freaking out too. When he saw that head, he went crazy. Okay, like I say, the Russians seem to be interested. So we got some kits coming in, the DNA. We'll take a look at it and see what we find. Okay, so let's do the best we can. I don't have it. I've never had it in my hands, but I do understand what I'm looking at here, and I can absolutely guarantee, in my own opinion, this is legitimate. And I understand all this peeling. That is the layers of skin, literally. These eyes are freaking crazy. Look at the little flick here. Look at that. It's got one over here too, exactly the same. There's his nose. It's got ears, I'll show you in a second. Now, look down here. There's a different coloration. You see this? Now, was this just in the mud or something and it has that coloration? I think it looks like it might have been lying on this side and was in the mud here, and this really let all the blood drip out going this way. All right, let me just rotate this and see if it makes sense. All right, so here's his head. And he dies laying on this side. Because the red blood runs out, it just dribbles out. The black does not. The black hardens up. Now, you can see there's a throat architecture and all that stuff. I'm going to tip him back up again. It's more easy to see. But I think this is the blood running down. And I have the same situation with a fingertip here. You see this fingertip? That's a fingertip. And this is also olivine. And I think this might be considered olivine in that area. Now, this had the same thing. The blood blew out here, just like his blood blew out his neck. It's where his neck is, where his artery is. And then that blood ran down and collected on the bottom. So this was down like this. the blood popped right out of the front of the artery. Because one side is going to be the artery, one side is going to be the vein. That's the artery side where it popped out. It's laying like this, and the blood is collected on the bottom. Just like this blood is collected on the bottom here. Now let's tip them back up. Now you see this here? It's almost like you had a cap on and it fell off. Whoops. Hold on. Let me get back to the head. Rotate. Upside down. Rotate. Rotate. Now, what do we got? Let's look at the bottom. I would say that's where the artery blood ran out. That's red blood. That's red blood. Now, that sure looks like a throat to me. That looks like a hole where his throat running. And this is underneath his chin. I don't know what's going on there, but now was this? I got another shot of this, and it looks almost like he was in a spacesuit or something. But look at that. I got to go with that being the throat. I got to go with that being his throat. There's his chin. There's that little waddly stuff under your chin. Those eyes are stunning. Now, where do you see the other one? He's got ears, and they're multiple ears. Where we go? Look at this. Now, this is from the other side. This is looking from the side, and it's well lit up. You see that? That's an ear hole, as far as I'm concerned. And these look like double ears or triple ears or something. Not your standard ears, let's put it that way. Now, what do we see here? Well, we know the eyes are just stunning. It looks to me like it might have died either on its face or on the side. I don't know. It's hard to tell without having it in your hand, but whenever I see the blood collecting in a certain area, that coloration, I think it was laying in the mud-ish, like up to here. Something like that. This, to me, looks like a spacesuit or something. That's a different material than this, and it looks like almost like a fabric or something. I don't know. Again, I wish I had it, but I'm telling you right now, I would say that's the artery going up into his head. As far as I can tell, there's not one single creature that I have found that I would say absolutely had a different colored blood than red. Iron is the blood, and it transitions between these oxidation states, giving and taking oxygen and all kinds of things in your body. And your blood is basically just saturated with iron. And that's the red part. And that's why when I showed you that fingertip, and I'll show you that again in a microscope, it's just saturated with blood. And all of these things are going to, if you know where to look, and you know where the arteries are, you just drill right into them. But you got to get in deep enough to where you get fresh, literally fresh blood. And I mean, sometimes it's fresh, and it's just about blood. I mean, some of them is absolutely blood. Now, what kind of creatures these things were, I have no idea. How would you even tell from a DNA test? I have no idea. Maybe there's going to be something that says this is reptilian, or this would have had a cloaca, or this would have had feathers, or I don't know. I have no idea what they can test with the DNA versus modern DNA. Because although this could be modern for all I know, I don't know when this happened, but I would say all of my stuff that I am making claims on, like even Caesar here, my goose, I would say all of this happened during the Great Flood. Now, did this happen during the Great Flood? I would think so. That is the key factor in the preservation was boiling. All of the, really easy to get rid of bloody stuff. That's what created the red bed during the Triassic era. The red bed was all the bloody, fleshy stuff that boils out easy. And you leave what's left over to be invaded, all right, through the membranes. In this case, feathers are membranes. That's his eye. That's his feathers. That's the pattern of his feathers. And he died laying on this side. And that's the little stuff underneath. There's his little beak hole. And right there you can see, if you get it again, you got to do the lighting. If you can see, that's where his neck was. You see it? Inside, that's where, maybe this was the vein, but it was, this is what, I think it was his throat. This shows, basically it's coming out his throat. I mean, that's what I'm seeing. Now, this is his artery. And that had a ton of catalase in there. When I first drilled into there, it was just like that. It was a hole like that. And I just dug in there a little bit and put some hydrogen peroxide in there, boiled up. So there's plenty of blood in there. You just got to drill deeper down. Now this, if you can see, once again, you got to get that shadowing. It's all the same material. It's been nucleophilic substitution. Nucleo means what? The nucleus. Nucleo. Well, what is a nucleus? The nucleus is what's in the atom. It's what makes that atom that specific atom. Well, nucleophilic and nucleosynthesis means you break the nucleuses up, and instead of being magnesium, it turns into sulfur or something, whatever. But it's enzymes that do that, and they create stability, and so this whole thing turns basically into one type of stone. That's basalt. Oh, that's limestone. That's that. No, that's a goose's neck that has nucleophilically transitioned into everything that was around it. It was laying in, whatever it was laying in, is now part of this stone. And the key to this whole thing is the fascia. And this is, feathers are nothing more than collagen fabric fibers that protect this thing from invasion. Just like it's the skin on our bodies, just like the membranes on all of our organs. I've shown this so many times. So let's dig in deep and see, what can we see here? It's intriguing. I'm telling you, this stuff is really, it's just amazing what has been dismissed. And that's why these people come to me. Now, I don't remember he came to me or I went to him, but by the time we got back and forth, it was gone, and I had the feeling he didn't want to be involved. And I understand that, because people get crazy. Oh, the guy's a liar, he's a... Blah, blah, blah. Trust me, I've been through the whole 9 yards. But that, to me, has a zero question. And nobody wouldn't, wouldn't think to put in these little markers that show it's obviously was alive at one time. But those eyes are stunning. Stunning. Yeah. So, that's quite an object. I would have loved to be able to get my hands on that and look it over close, but I can tell this is some kind of a different, like a collar or something. And I think this is probably the same thing. Or it could be a heavy accumulation of blood that ran out there. You got these creatures were not different, a lot different than us. Internally, I don't think. They have red blood. It appears to me they would be breathing oxygen as a source of respiration. They obviously had arteries and veins and all that stuff. Most of the reptilian ones had what's called a cloaca. Instead of having a penis and a vagina, like a man and a woman, they have a cloaca. And the two things come together, and that's what birds poop out that black and white looking stuff together at the same time. Oh, that's basically poop and urine, but it comes out of one spot. They have a different, obviously they don't have the same type of birth, the eggs and so forth, the reptilians and snakes and birds and all that. And it appears this could have that. Now the Naga one from Kim, I think, is a reptilian. And when I said I can't find any ears, hold on, let me show you something. This is, where is it here? This is probably the best shot. This has a crown, a hood. It's built right in here. This is not extra. This isn't something laying on top of the head. I could find no ears, and the only thing I could find in the ancient description of something similar to this was the white Naga. And they show it with ears, but I don't think they knew what they were talking about. Because how would they know in the first place? It was long before them. And I've seen a lot of other things. Here's what they call a white Naga. They got ears sticking out of there. What if the ears weren't there? Now we're talking pretty damn close. And I had everybody chime in, which is good. I get a lot of information by people saying, oh, snakes don't have any ears. Don't you know that? And I said, well, no, I really didn't think about it. But this does have ears. Now let's look at these ears. There's his eyeballs. That, to me, I would think is his ear. And it was twisted back like this. Was it one ear? Did it stick up this way? Did it just end up laying back there? Is it two ears? I don't know. There's obviously some bleeding from here. This could even be a wound. I have no idea. Like I say, I don't know. This could have been a wound coming out there, coming out right through that spot. How do you know? It's like when Trump got shot in his ear. It's almost the same place. When that happened, my wife was here, we're freaking out, and she says, where was this guy? How far away was he when he shot him? I said, I don't know. We know for sure he was within earshot. Trump was pretty good. He took a hit and he popped right back up. It was good. You know, I mean, it wasn't good they shot him, but it was good he didn't get his head blown off. Now check this out. This is what I missed. I think I missed it anyway. I may be right, I may be wrong, who knows. At first I just, you know, it's just another one of these alien heads laying around. But it always bothered me about all this red spot up here, like if it was laying on that side where the blood ran down to it, it wouldn't look like, I think it was laying on this side, and as I showed before, and the blood puddled down on this side. That's what it looks like to me. You can see it there. I believe you can see like an accumulation of red blood on this side. And it looks like the eye was pushed back. I'm going with it was laying on this side. Why would the red blood be up here? Where most red is up here. And it looks like it's running out of here down to here. So I just didn't pay any attention to it, but I always kind of wondered, what the hell is this? Why is that there? That should be something like this, I would have thought. Unless he got whacked in the head or something. And I think that was the case, only I think he got shot from there and it came out his forehead. Looking at it straight this way, you don't see it. But looking at it from the side, you can, it looks to me, I could be totally wrong. I could be, you know, this is just a guess. But again, I think it was laying on this side. That's the accumulation of red blood. And I'm going to show you that in my fingertip here, when I put it in the microscope. And this fingertip was the same way. It was laying with this down this way, and the red blood actually ran out and collected on the bottom, just like this, I believe, is a collection of red blood. And his eye is pushed back, if you can see right there. You see how the eye is pinched back with a straight line there? And all to the side, I believe, is the red blood. And it was because it was laying on this. That's what I'm taking away from this. Now, I hope I made that perfectly clear. All right, now. And of course, you can see the neck. I mean, that neck is pretty obvious to me. But it doesn't look like it was cut clean by any means. It was just ripped off. His head was ripped off. How that happened, je ne sais pas. No clue. Or I don't have any idea. All right, now, let's see if we can see from the side view. Like I say, I think this was a bullet wound or something kind of Because from the side you can see a different, you see that? That doesn't look like anything around it. That looks like a hole, almost either shot this way and exploded out that way, which could very well be. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, that would be it. All right, buddy. It went and came out there, right up in this area here. And then all of that red blood collected at the top. We could see in the other picture. And again, these are the only two pictures I have of this. And I have no way of getting any more. Was this guy a victim of being shot in the head? That's the only way I can account for that red blood and this whole area being saturated with red blood. Let's look at it again from the front. This is a forensic exam, my friends. Right there. Why? Why? That is some serious blood. Now, I think it went right under there and came right out the top. That's all I could say. And then he went, oh, poof, and landed on this side. His eye is pinched back. The blood ran out and puddled up here as he lay dying. All right, let me show you the same puddling effect on this fingertip, and then I'm going to show you this fingertip. Oh, this big gigantic jobber, and we'll see the blood on this one too. This is saturated with blood, and if you get it in the right light, you can see the bone and you can see everything about it, but you got to get it just in the right. You know, it's hard to get it right, believe me, but I know what I'm talking about here. You can trust me. I never lie and I'm always right. See that? Look at that. Totally different than this. This is like a tendon right here. That's tendon straps. You see those? And that right there is, I think that's the vein side and this is the artery. One of them is the red one. Yeah, this is the artery, the red. And this one here, oh, right there is the vein. All right, you can develop in your mud fossil eyes tendon, vein, artery. Red blood, black blood. The black turns into a lump. All right, that hardens up. Totally different than the red. The red just runs right out. You see how it's running right out of there? Now, again, we're going to do some DNA on this stuff. And all it'll tell us is were these human or not. The kind of test we're going to have will disregard everything other than human. And if there is any human DNA in there, it'll say this originated in the Middle East or wherever. It's one of these like ancestry type things. Like I say, another guy's doing this. I'm done doing the DNA test. I spent a lot of money because I had the top one done, the PCR. And 3 of them done, and nobody would accept it. So at this point, I think it's undeniable, and to deny it anymore is actually almost criminal for these academic institutions to deny even looking at this stuff. You know, that's right underneath where the fingernail bed was. This at one time was probably maybe this big, I don't know. But it's gone through the nucleophilic invasion and substitution process. But we can still see that's tendon. You see those? That's rope style tendon right there. I'm going to have to get this in a microscope and we'll see it. So I guess we'll start off with the blood that I say collect just like that. This would be just like this with this thing, and they'd both be laying like that. And the blood ran out and collected down here as a glob right there. That's a glob of blood right there. The same way I think that's a glob of blood on him. So let's see. All right, check this out. This is the tip of that finger I showed you. These little holes right here are what's called an apical tuft. There's a little ball right there, and all these little tendons come up and they lock into those balls like this, and that's what gives you the strength. Now, this was where the fingernail was. All right, you see it? That's where the fingernail was. Now, this red blood here is what was red blood. The other side is the black. You see, this side is the black. And there's one of the spots. Remember, I showed you the spots. You got to look and see. It's hard to see. This was pretty well transitioned, but right where my fingertip is pointing down there, right there. Hold on, let me get my pointer here. Where did you go? Well, no, it's right here. That's one of the veins. And right up in here, the other vein will be up in here somewhere. But they clamp off. The red ones don't clamp off. The red ones are leaking out the side, you see? But this one here was pointing down that way. And you see this lump at the end? That's red blood that has saturated out from the tip, because the tip was faced down this way. The blood ran out here. Now, let's tip it over, and I will show you the same thing that happened on that head is it accumulated into a glob. You see that? We got a little water on there. It's just a big glob of blood. That's the blood right there. Let me put a little more light on there. Hold on. That's the blood that ran out the end of the fingertip. Right there. And then collected all underneath here to form that bump at the bottom. And right there, that little spot is one of the arteries. On the artery side, they blow right out. The vein side, they do not. Hold on, turn that down a little bit. That's all the blood. And it was tilted. I can almost say exactly how the orientation was about on that angle, because the blood runs right up the side, right up here. And that, my friend, is a fingertip exuding blood. And all these little straps, you see those straps? That's in the grip skin. Very, 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 very tough stuff. They call them plagioclases. It's the tough stuff that's in skin that allows you to grip things. And this has crystals built into it and everything. Let me come down on this. Hold on, let me come down a little bit. You see on that left side how bloody red it is? This is where the vein side came in. This is where the artery side comes in. This is just, you know, whatever tissue was there transitioned. But this is all that blood caked on the bottom. You see? So anyway, this is where gems come from. Let me show you. See that one right there? I don't know what that would have become if it was just left on its own devices to grow, whatever. But it's some kind of a gem. And that's just blowing right out. There's the fingernail right there. It's blowing out of the red blood side. And there's all kinds of different colors in here, because they're all the different colors of transition metals that blow out from your finger. All right, this is the bottom side of that finger, the big one. Now, I'm going to have this DNA tested to see if it's human. Now, I'm turning up the light. You can see all that red tissue. You see all these little holes? Those are nothing more than where blood was filtering through your fingertips. These are exactly what you expect in the fingertip. Now, what I'm going to do is take and show this when I do it. I'm going to drill deep into this, get all that stuff out of the way, and then I'm going to drill deeper inside, exactly into the artery. And that I will extract and swab it with the swab, and then send it off and see what is there any DNA in there. And they'll say it came from wherever it is, if it's human. You know, like the Middle East or South America or whatever. This is on the East Coast of the United States. All of this stuff I have found here in my own yard. It's here. We just picked it up off the ground. This is not a big thing to do this. Everybody's doing it now. And they're freaking out. Everybody, I've given a 15-minute challenge. I've never had one person that couldn't find something in 15 minutes that they thought was a body part. Not one single one. And I have found people that have found things that are stunning within 15 minutes. Raw red blood coming out of a heart. New species. Spring toes. Unbelievable. Within 15 minutes. Go out 15 minutes. If you can't find something in 15 minutes, then I don't know what to say. But all you got to do is find a rock and then look for the signatures like I do. Everybody picked that up. That's just a rock. Have a nice day. See you later. You're like paradiola. You don't know what you're doing. Well, maybe so, my friend, but I look and I find. I don't dismiss, and now I want to have it analyzed. And there's some people that honestly appear to have some money that want to see it analyzed as well. So let's see it get analyzed. And you know, all I want to do is tell if there's human DNA in here, which mine were gigantic giants, much bigger than this, 3-foot-long fingertip. DNA, no, and I have something that can be tested right now from that exact same fingertip. I don't own that property anymore, so I don't have access to the finger, but I do have a piece of it, and I know there's a piece of red blood in there. So that's where we're going to get tested. Like I say, we're going to drill right down into one of these red blood areas. It's just saturated with blood. That's what a fingertip does. It transmits. Hold on a second. All right, watch this now. I just put a little water on that. This is that gigantic fingertip. These little black balls are what anchor these little straps. Your finger can do all kinds of contortions and stretch and try and move. And this is the dense skin that allows it to do that. And these straps are all attached to these balls. Now, that's one layer. Then the next layer down here has basically the same thing. You're saturated with this strong material. Now, there's going to be metals down in there. There's actually gold right there. Blood has a ton of metals in it. And if you can get to the right place where it's restricted correctly, you'll get gold. So somewhere in here, I'm sure that's gold. Can you see that? You probably can't even see that. You know what? I'll show you how you can see it. Hold on, there it goes. You see? There's probably a lot more in here and there. But that's the stuff that glows. The really shiny metals glow back, and gold glows some of the best. But it's going to be in here. It's in all blood is in there. Now, it's just how much. Like I say, if it's in the right conditions and it runs down into the right puddled areas, you can get some pretty good amounts of gold. All right, so anyway, that's that fingertip. And we can easily see that it's biology. What it will turn out to be as far as human goes, what type of human, if it is a human, I don't know. That we shall find out. You see the layering? You see that texture right there? All this fabric, that's on all skin and fascia and pleura that has to stretch and do this, and your fingers do a hell of a lot of that, and this is what makes them tough enough to do that. It's exactly what's in my belt. I'm going to show you. All right, whoops, it's not focusing in very well, is it? No. But at any rate, hold on. All right, don't forget, these are all the little black balls and the straps. And they're everywhere in anything that has to stretch and move around like skin and like my belt, which is nothing more than hide. Now, you see all these little black balls? Every one of them has a strap. And you really can't see the straps all that well attached to the balls, but I can see them very well. Hold on, let me see if I can bring this in. These are the black balls and straps. I'll show you what they look like in the microscope with my belt. Same stuff. All right, this is just cooler than cool. Every one of these little dots is a tendon enthesis, a little tiny skin tendon enthesis. And all of these straps run to these balls. You can't see this, but you will in a second from the other side of the belt. This is tanned and rolled, and they put some dye on it or whatever they do. But you can see each one of those little black spots is a ball. All right, now let's tip it over and see what's on the other side. All right, remember I said each one of those black balls on the other side has a strap attached to it? You don't see them, but watch this. I'm going to go over to my belt buckle, right where the buckle went through. Right here, you see it? Each one of them has one of these fibers attached to them. Exactly what I showed you in a gigantic fingertip. And I could show it in almost everything. Well, it's hard to see unless you know what to look for. These are rolled and crushed. That's why you don't see them as regular balls. They would be like little balls. But they roll them and crush them and do all these things to them. And then they are so tough, you could pull a truck with a leather belt. You strap it to the truck bumper and just pull the truck. These things are, I'm not saying a gigantic truck, but maybe. This stuff is just so many fibers in here, it's almost unbelievable. Because every one of those fibers that you're seeing here has literally thousands, and I'm not kidding you, thousands of fibers in that one fiber. And they are so tangled and matted that you can't hardly pull them apart. Right? I don't think anybody could pull rubber apart. You can cut it. I mean, rubber, yeah. They're all rubber now. But this is split cowhide. This is just the hide of a cow. And it's split away from the membrane underneath. It's just like our skin. If you flailed somebody and took their skin off, that's what the bottom of the skin would look like. We all have the same thing. You see that? Every one of those fibers has that many tiny little additional fibers inside of that one fiber. It's just incredible the number of fibers are in there. All right, this is the giant finger. Well, the one I was showing you that I said is olivine. I'm going to take a blood sample out of this. This is the vein side. That's this black stuff. That's what comes out of the vein. Now, if we go over to the other side, and this is going to be shaky, you see how we come out of that vein area and then we come into the tissue? That's just regular tissue up there. That round part there is a tendon coming up the side. And then you get up to the outer edge here. And in this area is where the artery comes up. That's where all this red blood is coming from. So there's two different sides to the fingers, because that's where the transition between the red blood and the black blood happens. And there's all that fabric. That's on everything. Whenever there's grip skin and there's pleura on the lungs and so forth, and then once you get inside, the fleshy stuff turns into stone. But you still have all those little holes. You see all those little holes? That's where the blood ran through. There's so many holes in fingertips and toes because they're the last place where the blood ends. And I've shown you that, which I will again right now so that we don't have any confusion whatsoever. And then I'm going to leave it at that because I get bored people after a while, but there's a lot to consider. Now don't forget, that's why you got a red side and you got a black side. In between, it's like a fabric, a weave. And the blood has to navigate through, and it starts out red on one side, and it goes through, and it ends up black going back to your heart and the lungs and so forth, and into your liver and the kidneys and all that. Clean it all up, get it all cleaned up, and it goes back into the red blood. That's all it is. It's just you use it, and then you clean it up. That's how it works. But coming down, it's red. It's got all the oxygen, it's got all the nutrients, all that stuff. But by the time it hits the end, it doesn't have much left. And it pinches through there in what they call a capillary, and this little pincher, and it goes into the veins, and the veins go back. Not a big, hard concept to understand. And fingertips and toes, you're going to find them everywhere, literally everywhere. Lungs, unbelievable. Lungs are just, they come out absolutely like they just came out of the box yesterday. I've shown mine, DNA tested, it looks like it's brand new. And that I'm going to also have DNA test. Well, I know it's human, I already had a DNA tested, I probably won't bother with that one. I had PCR DNA tests, those were expensive. And I had 3 of them done and nobody paid any attention. So now it's starting to take off. Otherwise than that, they just called me an insane person and literally nobody would pay attention. So we'll see what happens now. See, I've been showing you stuff with all that pleura and all that fabric. The same thing as this. Exact same thing, because it's a lung. It has to do this all day long. Flat because it was in the flood. Same as my buddy Caesar. Here's another one, a lung that half of the pleura pushed itself away. That's the alveoli inside the lung. And that's this heavy-duty fabric has pushed itself off. No, flat as a pancake because it was in the flood. Virtually all my stuff, 99% of it is flat on one side, and I can tell the side because it's usually got a different muddy texture to it on one side than the other. As a matter of fact, let me show you this. This is my foot, which I call a no-toe. And I can tell you how this guy died. All right, that's a foot. That's not a shoe. That is a guy's foot. And it has a built-in sole. I'm not kidding. It has a built-in sole. And here's where the impact spots are. It's got an arch just like ours, but it has springs built into these. And that's where it flexes. The foot flexes up and down. Anywhere you're going to have a flex, you're going to get a crease. And this is where the foot would go up and down like that. And that's why this is flexed up here like that. Same thing. And that's why this is curved like here, because it's on a spring and a pin. We have other ones that have altogether different architecture built into them. But this is a no-toe. Now, how did this guy die? Just a foot laying there just like that? No. Here's what happened. This side here was down. You see the look of this versus the look of this? The other side has a flat side. And this, of course, is the fibula. It falls right off. The tibia comes right down to there and rocks in this cradle. And the fibula sits right on the side, but it only attaches with a couple of ligaments. And boy, it's almost impossible to see those. I've really, it hits down the bottom. That's right underneath the calcaneus ball that comes down. And there's a couple of little tendons here. I think that's it, and this is the center one right here. And that sits right alongside. Sometimes you gotta, well, you might actually be able to see that. It's around here. Because that's what lays right up against the bone that comes down here. Same as your bone. I don't know. That one there is hard to see, but you can see that this is 100% different than this. This thing died just like this. Flat as a pancake. They're all basically that way. So that's the mud fossil way, my friends. That is the mud fossil way. Now what happened here, I don't know. It appears to me that it was laying like this, and whenever it came up, it broke itself away from the bottom that was stuck to whatever. And we're into the middle of the fingertip. And again, you know, you really got to play around with the lighting and so forth. But I don't know if I showed you the tendons, but they're there. The tendon, that's where the tendon is, right below your finger, so that it can do this. Otherwise, you can't do that. And again, it's flush with blood. And that is where the apical tuft was. I got an apical tuft around here somewhere. Right there. Here's what's in an apical tuft. You see this right here? Boom. That's right at the tip of your finger. And your finger comes up and the bone actually is right there and it hangs off the edge. All the tendon balls lock in all the way around here. There's a ton of little straps come down. And they've all been transitioned as well. You don't see them anymore. They're gone. But I can see this is where that major ball locked in the center. And you should be, again, it's all in the way you look at the thing. And this whole thing was where the fingertip, a nail, locked over. There's a round, big round spot. It's all bloody and nasty. If you rip your fingernail off, that's where it is underneath. And that's it. And again, a lot of the flesh, this fleshy stuff probably came way out to here. Hard to say. But that, my friends, was a fingertip. And we're going to see what the DNA is, if it was human. And I think it will be. Because my other ones, all three that I submitted, one was that long, and two of them were giants. And I mean giant. And they were all Homo sapien mitochondrial DNA. That's the mother side. So they were from humans. Where they were from, I don't know. This test is going to say it's either human or it's not human. And if it is human, where they think this human type of DNA is more concentrated. In other words, did it come from the Middle East? Did it come from South America? This is what we're going to find out. I'm going to do half a dozen tests. And I'll test myself to make sure that my DNA has not contaminated anything. And we'll test a bunch of them that I think, you know, I'm going to test that big toenail, that big toe that has that callus on the side. Whew. That thing's saturated with blood. I have a fingertip here that I believe came through space. As a matter of fact, I know it came through space. And I believe it's a human fingertip as well. And I'm going to show all of these when I swab them. I'm going to show you how I took the samples out so that there won't be any contamination. And then when the tests come back, I guess about 2-3 weeks, we'll go through the tests and each one of these samples and to see, are the tests different? Are all the same stuff? Did I contaminate them? Did I just contaminate it being in the earth? I don't know. Some of this stuff I don't know. But I can tell you what, when I put hydrogen peroxide on blood, it bubbles up. And what does that mean? Catalase is in there as an enzyme and it cleaves off the extra oxygen. H2O2 is hydrogen peroxide. That's here H2O2, not H2O. And you don't want any H2O2 in your body, you only want H2O. So that catalase gets sent out instantly to brrr, it bubbles up and foams up. If you see that, you know you got blood. You know you got catalase enzyme. Or you could, well, let me put it this way. Catalase is in everything that lives because no living thing wants additional free-floating oxygen. Just the way life is. They don't want any extra oxygen just floating around in your system. I think they call them free radicals. And you just don't want them in there. So the catalase gets them out before they get into your tissues. The catalase hangs around on your membranes, and it tries to get through that membrane. Stay out. That's what catalase does. I've shown that test a bazillion times too. Anyway, I love you all. Sorry for dragging this out forever. I know I get longer and longer, but sooner or later we got to really start over again with educating ourselves as to what our past was, what our future might be, and I think the whole society is going to be better for this. That's what my hope is. Anyway, it can't get much worse. So it's just one way or the other now. All right, thank you. Love you all. Bye.